back in the Privateer press room and setting up an interview appointment with Simon. That's that guy right there. And look what I found, a giant case of awesome Privateer press stuff. And you are going to get to see it. So here is the Retribution Arcanum. This is a plastic kit that makes the 3 new heavy warjacks. Oh, I need that. And same thing for Crikes. Oh, look at that guy. That guy's awesome. Let's see if I can get a close-up. Oh, yeah. Here's the Crikes battle engine. I don't even know what that's called. Here's Cygnar. There's the Colossal. That is on about a 5-inch base, by the way. Here's the regular jacks, heavy war jacks. Those, and they are actually beefier than the other things. Oh, look at that. Jump jet guy? I don't know what's going on with him. Here's Menoth. Look at that color scheme for Menoth. Kind of this charcoal thing. That is crazy. Oh my gosh, I actually started drooling a little bit. This is such candy. Oh my gosh. Oh, wowzers. Oh, this makes me happy. Look at these. Oh, those sculpts are so amazing. Here's a Colossal. Again, that's on probably a 5 or 6 inch base. That is ridiculous. Wowzers. Oh, Iron Fang Pikeman. I don't know if those are new sculpts. I don't think they are. But the black is fantastico. Okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. There's a Scorn battle group. Look at that. Yowzer. Troll Bloods, those are re-sculpts. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. I don't know, that's fuzzing up a little bit. I can't get any closer because of the glass. That is a Legion of Everblight battle group. Although I don't know if this makes the 3, so apparently not. I'd hoped that it would make the 3 different options. But down here, as you'll see, here's the Troll Blood Heavy box. Makes the 3 different options. So there's that. A Blitzer, Dire Troll Mauler, that is a new sculpt. I love the hands on it. Oh my gosh. Oh, Privateer Press, you're doing such a fantastic job. That's the big figure for the Troll Bloods. Here's a Swamp Horror. Here's the one for Scorn. Oh, look at how fantastic that is. That's ridiculous. Oh, wowzers. Oh, and the game is so good too. What a great company. This is what I want. I want this kit. I need like 3 of this kit. Oh, such candy. Oh, here's the Circle of Ouroboros Griffin. That is super. I love that figure. Oh, and these Warp Wolves are super. These are, that's a Feral Warp Wolf. Probably a, what is it called, an Alpha? Boy, I can't remember. That is super duper. There's a Stalker, all resin. Oh, and the new Argus, looking handsome. Yeah, that, and let me tell you, that's worth the price of admission right there. They're fantastic. All I have to say is good job, Privateer Press. Hey, Blue Table fans, we're here with Simon from Privateer Press. He's like, oh man, seriously? No, he's been super. All right, Simon, you're up. So talk about Privateer Press and what you got coming up.
Sure. I'm Simon Brumman. I'm the community coordinator and one of our staff writers at Privateer Press. We've got a pretty exciting year in 2012. Last year has been generally pretty exciting for us on the whole. Mark II War Machine and Hordes has just been massive.
That's huge. Yeah,
it was the biggest thing that we've done since we originally released the games, and it's been really exciting to see how into it all of our existing players and our new players, and just the growth we've experienced from that has been really wonderful. And we're taking in 2012 the opportunity to continue to grow on that. With War Machine and Hordes in particular, we have our new Colossals and Gargantuans, which are our 120mm base huge size models. They're giant warjacks, war beasts, things like that for all of our factions.
How many points do those cost?
They're around the neighborhood of 18 to 20 points each.
Okay. All
so
right. So when you're playing 100-point games, that's not that. It's not like this giant thing is kind of dominating the game.
Yeah, no. In a larger game, you may have one or two of them. They're field allowance 2. So even in a 50 to 75 point game, you could have 2 if you want. But they scale up well. If you want to play in our 100+ point Unbound format, they're great for that. But they work in our smaller games too. We wanted to make sure that you wouldn't have to have it play at a specific larger sized army. So if you want to play 35 points, there are ways for you to work a Colossal or Gargantuan into that.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You won't have
I'm
too many
ready.
other models on the table along
Right.
with it, but there are ways to do that. One of the things we also stressed was that your opposing player doesn't necessarily have to have one of those to be able to
To
combat
deal
you
with it.
effectively.
Okay.
You may need to change up your tactics a little bit to do all of that, but it's certainly possible.
Okay, great. So I'm going to say 5 years from now, what does Privateer Press look like?
A lot of things I can't talk about just yet, but
Okay.
I think we're going to continue.
But I
to
want
grow.
you to talk about that.
I think War Machine and Hordes are just going to continue to grow and grow. It hasn't slowed down since Mark II, and I think worldwide you're going to see War Machine and Hordes having a really huge community, and our online presence is going to grow. My hope is that in a year or two you're going to be able to go anywhere in the world and pick up a game of War Machine and Hordes. You almost can at this point, but I'd love to see us. If you're visiting Jakarta and you want to get a quick game of War Machine down, hopefully you're going to be able to do that. So
Wow.
I'm hoping our community is just going to continue to grow as fast as it has been. It doesn't seem to be slowing down yet.
Now, but let's talk about the future in terms of game size, because I've talked to some other different people have different sort of views on this. So there's skirmish games. So there's a role-playing game where you have one character, and that's your team, is the one guy, and your animal familiar. And then you have skirmish games, which I've heard some people say 5 to 15. I think it's more like 10 to 30. I consider War Machine at 35 points to be a skirmish game. And then there's like full-on like war games. There's got to be kind of a mid-range. Where's War Machine and Hordes going with that?
Sure. Well, I think we understand that people like to play at different points levels, and as time has gone on, some people generally like to. They enjoy the larger scale army games, and War Machine it wasn't designed specifically as a skirmish game. It happens to function particularly well that way, but it's always been our intention that you can play a really huge game if you want.
Right.
Last year we released the rules for our large scale games called Unbound.
Wait, that's already released?
Well, we released it in No Quarter magazine.
Oh,
and,
okay.
we will be putting those rules out again in full.
So wait a minute. So I'm sorry to interrupt,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
how do you handle? Because when I'm playing a 35-point game, I'm like, okay, this guy does what? He has like these 10 maneuvers. How do you handle that? When it's so many. Like I look at these games, these guys have like 8 warjacks on the board.
Well, the Unbound format was designed to deal with that, and what it does is you have a huge amount of figures potentially on the table.
Right.
You can have 150 plus points, 300 points even if you wanted to.
So
And,
is Unbound different rules then?
the core rules are the same, but the turn activations function a little bit differently, and you sort of choose battle groups within your army, and you activate portions of your army, and then you activate a portion, and then we would go back and forth through a single round. So I wouldn't activate all of my stuff while you're waiting to go. So one of the reasons we did that was so that you don't have to sit there and simply react or not really be able to do a whole lot on an extended turn because I have so many figures.
Okay.
And it's also very scenario based. So we were publishing a lot of scenarios for Unbound. We also have what are called formations, which are things that some players may own multiple models of a kind, and this gives them advantages for using what we call a formation. Like if they were to take 3 Centurion Warjacks, they would gain benefits in the game for having done that. And they would activate those groups together, things like that.
Okay.
The Gargantuan and the large
The Colossus.
Colossals. Are those some of the things that I saw in your display, with the guy holding the tree? And
Yes.
those are really fantastic.
I
I
love
haven't
those
seen
models.
that
They're
before.
beautiful.
Yeah, the big blue guy. That's the new Mountain King. That's going to be
That's the first time I've
Colossal.
seen that.
Yeah, that's the first
Yeah.
time we showed it to the world is at Adepticon this weekend.
Oh,
Okay.
that's fantastic.
We did some painting
Mountain
blogs.
King.
Yeah, the Mountain King's pretty exciting. Actually, I just finished writing his model entry, so he's got some pretty cool stuff going on.
You get to write model entries?
That's a significant portion of my job. Yeah.
No kidding. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I work with our the rest of our creative staff, and we have concepts we're going to express in those entries and their places in the story. but it's my job to write the 300 to 500 word description that goes in the
Right,
book.
the preamble.
And last week, before I came here, I was working on role-playing game stuff, which we're finishing up as well. And but I was working on the upcoming Gargantuans book, and the Mountain King was one of the things I was doing.
Whoa, I'm sorry. The upcoming Gargantuans book?
Yeah.
Aha! You let something slip. Information that you wouldn't have otherwise said. I'm sorry, this is going up.
Sure.
This is breaking news, Simon.
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. That'll be Colossus is coming out this summer for War Machine. That's the book that's going to have the new Warcasters.
No, Sarah, I don't care if he gets fired over it. The world deserves to know.
And the next book for Hordes will have the Gargantuans and new warlords for them as well. And that's where the Mountain
is
King
that?
will be going. That'll be later in the year. I don't know the exact date off the top of my head. But, that's the next Hordes book, and
Pretty exciting.
Mountain King's the first thing we've shown out of it, so that's pretty cool. And of course we have the conquests from Colossal in there as well, which is the big
Right. The
red
Kador and Jack.
Colossus, yeah.
Are they here?
Yeah,
Did
if you
I
look in
took
our-
I took pictures of all of
Okay,
those.
because I noticed the Mountain King, and I just sat there, kind of looking at him
Yeah,
with
we
the
were-
tree in his hand, and
Well-
I missed the Colossus.
And that's why I ask. And well, Guy, I always kind of go back compared to other games. Let's not do that. A lot of games, they start out and all you have is kind of the infantry, because the company's starting out, they don't have resources to do these larger figures, right? So, that's kind of my question about future of War Machine is, in 5 years, are we going to see, an army consists of 3 to 5 colossals, and all of these other things, but there's a kind of simplified rule set so you can get through it. But I guess you answered that already with the what's called Unbound.
Unbound.
I guess.
I wouldn't quite call it simplified. It just it changes the turn
Well,
order, but everything.
Unbound doesn't simplify the game to go faster.
I would say it streamlines the turn order in some places,
Right.
but all of the elements of War Machine and Hordes are still
Right.
in there. So you're still going to have your mat value, your attack value, your speed,
Right.
focus and fury for Warcasters and Warlocks. Like none of the core mechanics change. We really just mess with the turn order and the way you activate the models.
Well, it seems also I think how experienced a player is can
Sure.
matter.
Absolutely.
I've seen pros play. What takes me 2 hours, play it in a half hour. Like, you can really speed things up if both people know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So-
One of the things that's really great about our community, because in my other role here as the community coordinator, I'm really involved with our internet community and fostering.
So
private
does that mean you
players.
fly everywhere and
I
do that? What do you...
As community coordinator, most of my job is dealing with our internet community.
Hold
like
on.
Our forum.
No, Sean, there's a thing called the interwebs now. You don't, it's like, hold on, let me pen this scroll and get on my hitch the horses to the sleigh. Yeah, cross country we go.
But I do fly quite a bit for different.
You were thinking it, Simon.
We do fly around. It's one of the cool things about coming to Adepticon or places like Gen Con,
Right.
TempleCon is meeting the communities that we
Whoa, what was after Gen Con?
TempleCon. That's that's a show in Providence every February. And we actually do our keynote speech every year
It's in
there.
Rhode
Rhode Island, Providence, yeah. And we
I hope I get to make a keynote speech someday.
it's more of a presentation. Like this year, we showed off the new Colossus for the first time. We showed off our upcoming app War Room. We showed off Heap, which is one of our new board games coming out.
Heap?
Heap. It's part of our
Oh, okay,
Bodgers line
great.
of board games,
Right.
which we're beginning to expand.
Okay.
We're
You
releasing.
gave me a start because we're coming out with a game called Hemp.
Oh,
So that kind of guess what the board and playing pieces are made out
I can
of.
only imagine.
Anyway, go ahead. I'm totally kidding, by the way. I did for a second there think you said hemp. Go ahead.
Heap is it's going to be the third in our Bodgers line, although we're actually re-releasing the
Right.
second edition of Infernal Contraption.
So Privateer Press does like board games.
we
too.
do. We're
You
gonna
got
do-
Monster Apocalypse
We have
going.
Monster
right?
Apocalypse. We have a lot of.
I saw some of my guys playing that.
Sure. We have 2 new board games coming out this year. 3, I should actually say, with the second edition of Infernal Contraption, Heap, and Level 7, which is we're still being a little secretive about, but that's going to be
Okay.
out later this summer, I think. At Gen
Level
Con.
7. Well, and the rumors I heard is that it's a science fiction.
It is a science fiction.
Oh.
It's an entirely new setting and intellectual property. Yeah. It's I understand. It's kind of a survival horror thing with science gone wrong in level 7 of this underground laboratory.
Oh,
and,
okay.
the cool thing about
So,
level 7...
hold on, is that a board game?
Yes, that... Well, I
Oh,
should-
okay. I thought it was going to be a miniatures
No,
battles game.
although I should
And that was blowing my mind.
I should qualify the first game, Level 7 Escape, which is out this year, is going to be the first
Okay.
of a whole series of products that we're going to use to explore the world of Level 7 through different kinds of
Okay.
games.
Okay, so next question is, what do you think the future of the industry is going to be, and how you're going to play in that?
One of the things, like I said, we're looking at right now is we're going to continue to support War Machine and Hordes in new and expansive ways. We're going to support that at every level of play. If you want to play skirmish level, big battles, the kind of medium-sized stuff we have right now. As far as tabletop gaming in general, I think it's a really exciting time right now. There's a lot of just cool stuff coming out. There's a lot of people making new and interesting products, and we want to really be a part of that in a lot of different ways. And things like Level 7 are going to let us do that because it lets us explore different parts of the tabletop industry and the kinds of games that we want to play that maybe don't fit specifically into War Machine or Hordes, or miniatures battle games, or let's do survival horror exploration games, cooperative games, casual games like the Bodgers stuff, and yeah, that's kind of where we're heading. I think we're just we've got the Iron Kingdoms role-playing game coming out at Gen Con this year.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
So am I. It's kind of a dream job thing, but
And now, quick question: is that going to be more like D20, D&D 3.5, or is it going to be lined up with 4th edition?
neither.
Neither.
We have created our
Are
own
you doing-
proprietary system based on War
okay.
Machine and Hordes.
All right.
The
So it's not D20 open
Absolutely
gaming
not.
license.
No.
Okay, great.
We wanted to. Our original Iron Kingdoms role-playing games, which were actually the first products we released about a decade ago, were D20, and
Right.
they're they're well-regarded games, and we really love them. But the D20 system never. It carried a lot of mechanical baggage, which we didn't find really appropriate for the Iron Kingdom setting. So when we go back to when we took the base rules from War Machine and Hordes, it let us do. We knew the math behind those systems, and we knew how to manipulate those. So we were able to take that and build the really granular, fine, detailed game system you need.
So
for a
will the
role-playing
RPG be familiar to people that are familiar with War Machine? Will they have kind of the same mechanic? Then is that
the very core mechanic is the same, which is two dice, two 6-sided dice
Okay.
rolled and added to a statistic on your character
Right.
sheet against.
that's
a
good
target
enough
number.
for me?
But one of the things we did with that was really expanded upon it because a role-playing game needs to have a level of detail beyond the abstraction of a war game.
Right.
So characters are going to have a lot of access to a lot of different abilities. They're going to be able to create
Right.
really thematic characters.
So
for the
hold on
Iron
a
Kingdoms.
second. Could I take my War Machine figures and play Iron Kingdoms RPG with those?
You could
Is it suitable? Like even 3rd edition D&D seemed to have miniatures in mind for it.
Yeah, when you play the game, when you're involved in combat, which is not all of the game, obviously, we have a strong social and investigative and explorative aspect to the game because the Iron Kingdoms has a lot of mysteries and intrigue and stuff like that. But when you come and you do your combat, you're probably going to play it on a battle map, which I think most RPG players are pretty familiar
right.
with. And you'll have miniatures is probably the simplest way to do it. We use our base sizes the same as War Machine and Hordes.
But your character could be a warcaster.
You can play a warcaster in the game, yeah. You can play warcasters,
Oh,
gun
that's
mages,
awesome.
Field mechanics.
Oh, that's awesome!
Mage hunters. I think if it's
Pick up your dice, ladies, because it's on.
yeah, it's
Okay,
it's
go
going to be
ahead.
pretty awesome.
No, I'm over the moon about that.
right on. But it's been pretty cool because we've gone through and we said we looked at the things that made the Iron Kingdoms iconic
Right.
and fascinating to people, and we didn't just look at the war game for that. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff that we expanded upon there, but there are things in the game like you might be able to play an aristocrat duelist from Lael,
Right.
things like that, and we also have
So, hold on a second.
Sure.
So, in the Iron Kingdoms RPG, by the way, that's now your new tagline.
an evil laugh.
Yes, it's an
Maniacal
evil
laugh.
laugh. Kind of like that. You can
Maniacal
tweak it a little bit,
Sure.
but you guys can have that. That was for
Thank
free.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, their Privateer Press is grateful that I came along. So, your adventuring party could have a warcaster in it.
Absolutely.
And that warcaster might just happen to have a warjack around.
Eventually, yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah, warjacks, steamjacks. Not all the jacks you can interact with are warjacks. Laborjacks are pretty common around too, and that's probably what we're going to start out with. Is a big lumbering, clobbered together laborjack.
Right.
But warcasters obviously are going to want to gain access to warjacks. There's ways for them to do that.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So just give me so is it a game? What's the flavor gonna be? Is it gonna be maybe flavored like GURPS, where it's kind of a point buy thing, or is it gonna be flavored like traditional D&D type? You're level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What's it gonna feel like? What's the texture? Don't hold out on me, Simon. Give me the goods.
I can talk about this. So there's a few really important choices you're going to make a character creation. And the first of those is probably making a character race. If you're playing a human, trollkin, an ogren. All of the core races from the original Iron Kingdoms will be available in the first book.
Oh, wow.
And then we're going to add more in the subsequent 3 books we're producing.
Oh, I'm ready.
So you'll pick your race, and then you'll pick what we call an archetype. An archetype is kind of like the general...
Hold on, is that like class?
No.
Okay.
An archetype is...
Because, hold on a second, I'm sorry. Sure. Because everyone tries to be like, oh, it's this thing, and they give it this fancy new name, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's that. And maybe that's human to try and like compare something.
Sure.
Like I'm going around reviewing some of these games and talking to the creators, and I'm like, oh, this is like Necromunda, but in this setting. Mm-hmm. And but I refrain from that because no one likes to be told that this reminds the person of this. Oh yeah, this is in a 1975 movie. This has been done. Anyway, continue with archetypes.
So archetypes are kind of it's an overall set of skills that your character kind of.
Okay.
It's the way he's learned to deal with life.
Okay.
So and there's 4 archetypes. There is intellectual, skilled, mighty, and gifted.
Okay, hold on a second. Stop this.
Sure.
Okay, now we're set. Gifted. So. Did you say
is
gifted?
magic users, yeah.
Oh, okay.
If you want to play
okay, because I'm gifted, so I think, I think like me, like a genius. But you're talking about like sorcery. That's intellectual.
And then there's skilled,
Yes.
which means somebody
Skilled.
learned
And
it.
mighty.
Like, I'm not mighty or skilled. Okay, please continue,
And then
Simon.
once you pick your archetype, you're going to gain some specific abilities that you choose from for your archetype. Once you pick your archetype, you're going to pick your 2 careers. Careers are a little bit like classes in other games.
Got it.
And one of the things that we wanted to do with the Iron Kingdoms was a lot of our characters are kind of hybrids in the first place.
Aha! Your game is like other one. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally hold on. Okay, go.
Careers are one of the things. Building character for the Iron Kingdoms, a lot of people have really broad skill sets. Our traditional fighter guy probably has a sword and a gun.
Right.
Because it makes sense. And a lot of other characters they have varied abilities and stuff. And the look of the setting is very hybrid. It's very do-it-yourself, bunched together.
Right.
So we thought about looking at single careers, and we realized they were too narrow. So you choose 2 careers. You might be a gun mage duelist, or you might be a gun mage mechanic. And you'll pick your 2 careers, and those give you access to different abilities. And the careers are kind of based on the archetype and race. Some are excluded. Like only Trollkin can be fell callers, for example. And once you pick those, you're going to pick some abilities and some skills based on the set of careers you have. You're going to buy the equipment. Some careers just give you equipment, like gun mages get a mage-like pistol. And one of the things we did was we wanted to make our starting characters are not necessarily feeble guys just starting out. A lot of them, you can certainly build a character like that if that's appealing to you.
Yeah, yes.
But
yes. You know what appeals to me? Feeble. I'm thinking feeble.
Actually, that's a style of play I actually sometimes enjoy, is having a role. Like you've got to.
I have run. In fact, I recently ran a game where the players started with a loincloth.
And that was
in a cave with no light, in the dark. They had to like feel their way around for the first session. And so when they found like a sharpened bone,
What do you got on there, buddy?
please tell me that's a loincloth. It's like it's okay. Go ahead.
So but the baseline we want to start people at is kind of accomplished adventurers. Maybe the 2 careers they have. Maybe one of them is what they used to do, like mercenaries, things like that.
And let me guess, this will be a gorgeous hardback book with lavish art.
We have some really great art coming into this book.
Kablam! No kidding.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty big. The first book is.
Oh, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So is it going to be like Player's Handbook Dungeon Master Guide format? What's it going to look like?
So our general release schedule at this point, we are planning to release 4 hardcover books for Iron Kingdom's role-playing game. Full Metal Fantasy is actually the full title.
Yes.
And the first book will have the core rules,
Right.
everything you need to make a number of really iconic characters. I can't remember the exact number of careers that go into it, but it's substantial. And you can combine those.
So a core rule book. Okay, what's next?
that will also
Now, would this all come over the summer?
No, it'll be split up by
Between
several
now
months
and-
between each book.
Okay, so now and the end of the year, maybe.
Probably a little past that, I think.
Okay.
But
But 4 books is kind of like that's the thing.
yeah, well,
Okay.
in the core book also, it's not just rules, it's also going to have a very large history of the Iron Kingdoms, and then a large life in the Iron Kingdoms, which I just finished writing, and that's going to really...
So I'm sorry. So somebody who plays War Machine might want to just pick up the book for the background.
Yeah,
as well, if they're into that thing.
It's going to be the most complete sort of setting guide we've ever published for the Iron Kingdoms. It's going to tell you, it's not going to be as focused on the armies. It's going to be focused on day-to-day life in the Iron Kingdoms. That's a major chapter we're just finishing up now for editorial.
It's really great for an RPG.
Yeah, and then the second book, I don't have titles for the rest of the next 3 books, but the second book is going to focus on the nations of the Iron Kingdom specifically.
Okay.
And that's
But is
Signar.
it just background?
No, there will be playable content in all of these.
Okay,
There'll be new
got
careers,
it.
new abilities,
Right.
new equipment,
Okay.
New monsters, things like that. So
Ooh,
there's going to be
okay.
whether
But it won't be divided by type. It'll be just releases with a little bit of everything in it.
I'm not sure.
Well, like,
Not
for
just-
example, if you go to play D&D, again, I'm comparing apples to oranges, but you buy a player's handbook if you're a player, that has everything you need to make your character. A Dungeon Master's Guide goes to the Dungeon Master, and then it has like a monster manual.
No,
But it sounds like each release is going to have something for the player,
Expanding
does
on-
something for the Dungeon
Absolutely.
Master, and it's going to have resource material
Very
in the
much so.
background. Material.
And the second book is going to focus on the nations of the Iron Kingdoms, which is Signar, Protectorate of Menoth, Ord, Kador, and who am I forgetting?
The Rulix, the
No, that'll
Retribution?
be in a later book.
Okay.
Those will all be in later books. And those kingdoms are actually not, some of the War Machine kingdoms aren't in that book because they're not technically members of the Iron Kingdoms, which are
Right.
basically the nations of the Corvus Treaties, plus the Protectorate, which is a more recent country.
Okay.
And then the state of Lael has fallen and is now occupied by various groups. So that will be in that book, but
Okay.
it will be treated a little bit differently.
Okay, third
And
book?
then the third book is going to explore the wilderness of Emerald. That's where we're going to introduce warlocks and war beasts. You're going to be able to play a warlock like you would in Hordes, just like you can play a warcaster in the first book. We'll have a lot more monsters in that book. We're going to talk about the wilderness, like the untouched regions of Western Emerald. And then the fourth and final of the core books will be about the ancient empires. That'll be about Crix, the Scorn Empire, the Ruluk Nation, and the Iosans.
Wowzers.
Of course,
Sounds really
it's
It's
pretty
what,
cool.
what about modules, like adventures?
We're going to be doing a lot of extra support through No Quarter Magazine,
Okay.
which is our bi-monthly magazine.
Right.
I think you'll be seeing a lot of monsters and new career. You'll be seeing preview stuff. I'm almost positive we'll have some scenarios and modules in there for you to play, and that's going to be the place to watch for that.
Okay. But
So-
later on, obviously, the line will continue with...
Very possible. Like,
Other
we're working on getting these 4 core books out. and then
Right.
We'll see
Yeah,
how
it's
that
a
goes
little
from there.
premature to ask you.
Yeah, the amount of
So
work.
tell me the release schedule for 2014. Okay, great. So, all right, I actually think that's
phenomenal.
enormous.
Right on.
That is really
Amazing.
super.
Tired yet?
Yeah. Well, I have to say the RPG is one of the most exciting things. We knew about it, and at the studio, we've been talking about, well, we might want to do that, because it fits in with what we're doing. It would, because we make our War Machine armies, and, it would fit in. We just kind of have we wouldn't be doing that, and then this totally separate thing to get our RPG fixed.
Sure.
It would kind of fit, and everyone likes that setting. We're very much, steampunk type genre fans.
Awesome.
There. Anyway,
So,
guy.
yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Simon.
Gen
You
Con
really are
2012 for the
great.
RPG.
All right, Simon. Thanks a lot. That was really
pleasure.
fantastic amounts of information. Very much appreciated.
No problem, and hopefully we'll see you guys at Gen Con when the RPG, Level 7, and a bunch of other stuff is going to be
We
available
hope
this
to.
summer. So
Yeah,
come find us in the
great.
Private Trip Press booth.
That's
Great.
fantastic.
Awesome.
All right, thank you.